Un, dos, tres, probando.
Saludos, saludos. ¿Sale? ¿Salió bien? Yo me oigo aquí, ¿no? Yo puedo tener esto.
Yo quisiera que tú te quitaras la sobuco, compadre.
Sí.
Pero yo lo escucho bien, compadre.
Sí, no, yo tengo mi voz, es una voz gruesa. Se enreda con la sobuco. Sí.
Cuando habla.
Lo que no sé si...
Habla ahora.
Dime ahí ahora.
Estoy escuchando desde aquí.
Hablo. Saludos, saludos, compañera, compañero.
Estoy bajito, pero en la sobuco, pero se oye.
¿Se oye? Le pongo un poquito más. Le pongo.
¿Tú le vas a poner? Yo sé que tú tienes para
No, no, yo te pregunto.
el mute, hables. Cuando está tombellito amarillo, no te... Claro, men, pero bueno. Ahí cómo está.
¿Qué va a hacer, joder?
Ahí cómo está.
Ahí está para hablar.
Sí, no lo pongas todavía.
Esperamos mucho de esta batalla que ustedes se proponen a librar junto a nosotros, para derrotar el bloqueo, para derrotar la hostilidad con nuestro país.
We hope to defeat hostility against our country. We are ready to defend hope, not because we have been signed by destiny to make hope in the world. We do not consider ourselves a people with a self-fate or an extraordinary fate. We are a small country, small nation, living in our modesty, and a people to which history in these particular circumstances has given the role to defend what we are defending today. Our ideals and our rights. You see this as a hope, and we understand what this might mean for the progressive forces and all revolutionary forces and all peace-loving forces and justice in the world. And it could be worse that the imperialism might crash the Cuban Revolution. And that it's why we consider our elemental duty, our sacred duty, with you, towards you, to defend our revolution, even giving our lives for that reason. Thank you. Thank you very much. All thanks in the world. And allow me, please, to say once again, socialism or death, homeland or death, we shall overcome. Long live solidarity.
Buenos días, buenas tardes.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Comrades, all friends, in this new encounter of solidarity with Cuba, greeting the Day of the International Proletariat, you may all receive as greetings on solidarity and international commitment with our country. As we do, the encounter has been organized by the CTC together with the Cuban Institute of Friendship with the Peoples and the participation of different political, mass, and social organizations of the country. Comrades all, the pandemic that is harshing our planet has lead us to celebrate this encounter online, but this is not going to be a hurdle to raise the flags of liberty and conquerors achieved, accomplishment of the working movement in the world. And this is the moment to honor those who have given their lives for the just causes, and also to speak about Cuba and to speak about the traditions and the resilience in facing an empire that is depriving the country from the economic relations with the world due to the commercial, financial, unfair blockade imposed for more than 6 decades. These, among other issues, shall be indispensable in this encounter. On the other hand, this meeting is a tribute to the historical leader of the Cuban Revolution, Fidel Castro Ruz. For this specific reason, we would like to start this meeting reminding his words in the first encounter of solidarity with Cuba, as well as his emancipating legacy and his work in favor of the international solidarity and his internationalism condition that leads us to keep in mind his revolutionary position. In coincidence with this important date for Cuban all, as April 19, 60 years ago, when, for the first time, in Playa Girón Bay of Pigs, the imperialism was defeated by the combatant people, and then we held in that same day, many years ago, the Congress of, many years after that, the Congress of the party, the 8th Congress of the party, and Cuba ratified the confidence in the new generations for its continuity. And it's clear for us that unity is sacred, and it's at the same time the main pillar for independence and sovereignty of our nation. United, we shall overcome. Comrades all, we are accompanied in this opening session, in this encounter, Ulises Guilarte de Nacimiento, member of the Politburo and Secretary General of the CTC. Ángel Arzuaga, Deputy Chief and Coordinator of International Relations Department of the Central Committee of the party. Fernando González Yurt, hero of the Republic of Cuba and President of the Cuban Institute of Friendship with the Peoples. We are accompanied at the same time by some representatives of political organizations and mass organizations, which are also part of the international relations system. Now we would like to invite Ulises Guilarte de Nacimiento, Secretary General of the CTC, to pronounce the opening speech in this encounter. Esteemed comrades, in our struggle, we are calling for this international encounter of solidarity with Cuba, giving reasons for that, to keep on articulating for a more effective integration, the mobilization claiming from the United States administration to eliminate the genocidal, criminal, immoral, and unjustified economic, financial, and commercial blockade imposed to Cuba for more than 6 decades. Its extraterritorial character in violation of the international law is the main obstacle for the development programs we have been designing, since they pose some pressures to those who have commercial relations with Cuba for supplying food, fuel, or raw materials to our country. And at the same time, the U.S. authorities are still persecuting and fining and sanctioning even banks and other organizations, but mainly banks that are in agreement to proceed with our financial exchange. This pose direct damage in the social and economic spheres that have some impacts in our workers, and also there is an arbitrary and unilateral decision to include Cuba in the list of countries that sponsor terrorism. We are holding this forum in a complex and challenging international context, even more if we are in the midst of this pandemic situation of COVID-19, with an impact in the labor scenario and in the trade unions' positions. This reality, which is terrible, has made much more visible the anti-human essence of the capital, with the exaltation of the market and its uncontrolled bloom under the rules of neoliberalism. More than 300 million workers have lost their jobs, and precarization of the jobs existing are taking place. There are no social assistance in some places, and this goes against the life standards of millions of people in the world. Services of health and pharmaceutical industry have been also affected and are used today as a profitable business where they take money for all these services, and these have been seen in the figures that we are analyzing today before the responses in sanitary emergencies we are going through. Likewise, we are facing the growing media campaigns of manipulation and misinformation, which are using some subversive content, trying to annex some countries and giving fake news. They are trying to create confidence and to break the unity of peoples to promote rebellions. In these circumstances, Cuba once again is showing its solidarity and cooperative position. More than 46 brigades of the international contingent, 100 of specialized doctors, specialized, as I said, in epidemics and disasters. They are working in 42 Latin American, Caribbean, African, Middle Eastern, and European countries, and with the only purpose to save human lives. The world appreciates in total admiration how the professional competence of our scientists and workers, health workers, have been able to develop 5 vaccines candidates which are today in clinical trials with a purpose to vaccinate in the year 2020 the whole Cuban population against COVID-19. Apart from developing the infrastructure in the country to be placed in the world struggle to overcome this pandemic. Comrades all, the 8th Congress of the Communist Party of Cuba, which just finished, stated the decision, the determination to follow the revolutionary and anti-imperialist ideals, and as part of it, the total conviction that solidarity between peoples still the base of the values that put us together and that keeps solidarity and integration. The celebration of the International Labor Day in our country shall be another important demonstration of the total support of the people to its revolution and the social project we are developing. At the same time, it's going to be in a scenario of denunciation against justice, inequity, and for the establishment of an international economic order in which might be human being as a center of it, as well as dignity and welfare of workers. Long live solidarity between the peoples of the world. Long live peace and friendship, literally forever.
Damos las gracias a nuestro secretario general por
We thank our Secretary General for his encouraging words for the friends of the world. To convey his solidarity message, now we give the floor to George McBricos, the World Federation of Trade Unions. This organization has repeatedly accompanied and supported the Cuban Revolution throughout his revolutionary process.
Comrades of the heroic Cuban working class, on the occasion of the International Day of the Working Class, the day of memory of the martyrs and the workers' sacrifices for a better world, this May Day, on behalf of the leadership of the FSM, I send you a warm and militant international greetings extended to the leadership of the party, state, and the unionism of your country. The 105 million affiliates of the WFTU in 132 countries of the world bow before the socialist principles of the Cuban Revolution and the workers' ideas of your country, that resists the criminal imperialist blockade imposed by the United States and its allies. Even this May Day is marked by the COVID-19 pandemic that has cost the lives of millions of human beings across the world, tragically showing the dead ends of the capitalist system. A system that has nothing to offer the peoples of the world. The imperialists are starting new wars. Millions of people are becoming refugees and immigrants, while a number of countries, the workers, are being deprived of their historic achievements. The world's bourgeois classes are becoming more ruthless, more aggressive in front of the new and profound capitalist crisis unleashed by the coronavirus. On the other hand, our great class-oriented union family, the FSM, recognized that this pandemic clearly showed once more the ideological, political, and humanitarian superiority of socialism against capitalist barbarism. Your country proudly sent its doctors and medical staff where the imperialists sent bombs. Your country manufactured vaccines with the criteria of meeting people's needs, while capitalist pharmaceutical industries speculate on the lives and health of a billion people in order to maximize their profits. The WFTU recognizes your important efforts, and as it has done since its founding in 1945, it continues to support in every possible way your people, your unions, and the ZSE. The ZSE, as a member of our great family, and through its leading positions of the FSM administration, is playing a protagonist role in the international trade union arena. We have supported in practice with international campaigns, memoranda, and protests the just demand for the return of the Guantanamo territory to Cuba, for the liberation of the 5 Cuban heroes, the elimination of the criminal blockade, the awarding of the Nobel Prize to the international health continent, Henry Reed. Comrades, we are proud of you. In the face of the FSM, you can find an ally and partner in the difficult struggles of the future. And as the FSM slogan for this May Day says, hope lies in our struggles. Long live May Day, long live international solidarity, long live the Communist Party of Cuba, long live the ZSE.
The words by George Mavrikos encourage us for fight and to feel committed with the heroic struggles of the world proletariat. Now we invite representatives from Asia and Europe to convey their messages. Now the floor will be given to Yang Wanping, Vice President of the National Secretary of the ACF2, and later on Kevin Kearney, the spokesperson from the General Council of Trade Unions of the UK. Dear President of the International Meeting, Dear Secretary Mr. Ulises Guilarte, comrades and friends, good morning. As workers all over the world celebrate the International Labor Day on May 1st, the All China Federation of Trade Unions is honored to be invited by the Central of Cuban Workers to attend the International Conference of Solidarity with Cuba through the video and to communicate with friendly organizations and friends from all over the world together. We support and stand with the just cause and heroic struggle of the Cuban people. The ACFTU believes that the convening of this international conference of solidarity has a special historical significance. The world in 2021 is standing at a new starting point. At such moment, we need to review on the historic and look toward the future. The Cuban people are heroic people. In the past half-century, the Cuban people and working class, fearless of great power and violence, have held high the banner of socialism under the leadership of President Fidel Castro, President Raúl Castro, President Díaz-Canel, struggled arduously, fought unremittingly against U.S. power politics, economic blockade, and military threats, bravely defending national sovereignty and independence, continuously pushed forward the Cuban socialist revolution and construction causes, and achieved outstanding victories once and again. Today, socialist Cuba stands tall in the world and has won the universal respect of the peoples of all countries. In the heroic story of the Cuban people, the Central of Cuban Workers has closely united to the broad masses of workers and made outstanding contributions. We highly appreciate the fruitful work carried out by the Cuban trade unions under difficult conditions and express our sincere tribute to your achievements. We are convinced that the Cuban people will overcome temporary difficulties on the way forward to win new victories. The coronavirus pandemic has a profound impact on the global economic, political, and security situation. Peoples of all the countries desire health, stability, and freedom, just as they desire fairness, justice, and development. However, in general, in international politics, hegemonism and power politics still exist. Comrades and friends, the working class is the fundamental driving force for economic and social development. We admire the revolutionary spirit displayed by the Cuban working class. The broad masses of Chinese workers resolutely support the Cuban people's struggle to safeguard national sovereignty and independence, and resolutely oppose the sanctions imposed on Cuba by external forces. As a just cause enjoys abundant support, while an unjust cause finds scant support, we are convinced that the Cuban people will win the final victory in their just struggle. The Chinese working class, as always, stand together with the Cuban workers and workers from all over the world. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias.
On behalf of the TUC and our 5.5 million members in the United Kingdom, I am very pleased to send solidarity greetings to the CTC and all Cuban workers on May Day. We are in admiration of your dignified struggle. We continue to condemn the illegal and unjust blockade of your country by the United States. We note and are in awe of your achievements in health, in education, in social welfare, in women's representation, and in humanitarian aid across the world, achieved despite this illegal blockade. Throughout this pandemic, you have sent health workers around the world, helping others, while other governments have stood aside. Now, on many years, we have been pleased that hundreds of UK trades unionists have been with you on May Day. We're sorry this day to be here only electronically. We hope to visit you again in the future. We were so sorry to hear of the passing of Gilda Chacon Bravo from your international department, who so often welcomed trades unionists from our country to yours. We were so pleased in 2019 when we had Ulysses from your CTC come to speak to our Trades Union Congress, and when we passed a motion at that Congress full of solidarity and support for the Cubans on the 60th anniversary of the revolution and the 80th anniversary of the founding of the CTC. I want to say to you all, we stand with you. Viva la solidaridad internacional.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much to both comrades for your messages, which convey the feelings of workers, which represents their support and solidarity with the Cuban people. From social media, we are receiving greetings from important international personalities. Sherik Lado from the she's a co-chair of the United States Friendship Association. Rob Miller from the UK, the National Front of Workers is reaffirming its commitment with peace, international solidarity, and non-interference on Cuban affairs. Cuba is a beacon of justice and peace. Greetings to Cuba from Nicaragua. They are present to join us in the struggle against the empire, saying no to the unfair blockade. And the blockade from Uruguay. From FNT from Nicaragua, condemnation to the U.S. blockade against the Cuban people and demanding the lifting of the blockade since it's a violation to the UN Charter, international law, and causes damages to the Cuban people. Greetings from France, the friends from the Cuba Linda Association. Greetings from Mexico, the Country Foundation. Thanks to all of our friends. Thank you for joining us in this meeting. Now we invite give the floor to our friends of Solidarity, Eduardo Mernis from the Uruguayan Movement of Solidarity with Cuba, coordinator of the international relations of the Front of Uruguay, and later on Sharon Grobel, co-chair of the Solidarity National Network in the U.S. I am Eduardo Mernis from this front. Is May the 1st. We convey our congratulations to the Cuban people and each worker who is fighting to provide with support to their families, which is being damaged by the imperialism. At the same time, we salute the heroic revolutionary struggle and their legitimate rights not to be subject to the U.S. I would like to convey to the Cuban CTC and all the workers from Uruguay who respects and admires the Cuban people, recalling this long-lasting friendship uniting us, and no foreign intervention has been able to undermine. In the midst of this context, which has worsened Cuba situation given the U.S. blockade, and we would like to highlight the workers and their efforts and sacrifice all over the world to save lives. Today we ratify our solidarity and our most firm condemnation against the U.S. blockade. And it's about time to end this measure, which is illegal and criminal. The Cuban Workers' Federation has summoned this celebration to celebrate May the 1st, saying, "United we are Cuba." And following this slogan, we are reaffirming our commitment. This cry, international cry, to encourage international unity to achieve respect, sovereignty, rights, and freedom of our peoples. End the blockade. Long live Cuba.
On behalf of the co-chairs and membership of the National Network on Cuba, I would like to extend greetings and our sincerest best wishes for the 2021 International Solidarity Meeting. It is a great honor and pleasure to be part of this event and to recognize the tremendous accomplishments of Cuba's healthcare workers in combating COVID-19 at home and around the world. Throughout this year, the NNOC, its member organizations and committees, and various other groups and individuals have hosted and participated in a near constant calendar of dynamic, educational, and inspirational webinars about Cuba and its incredible successes despite obstacles endured under the unjust policies of not just the past administration, but of the past 60 years. May 1st marks the launch of our All States Say Hands Off Cuba campaign, where we'll see not only old friends familiar with the struggle, but new friends and young people from every state and Washington, D.C., displaying signs demanding the end of the unjust and inhumane blockade of Cuba. A beautiful reminder of the deep love and support of Cuba that runs through the people in every region of the United States. Since May of 2020, 12 cities have passed Saving Lives resolutions, with 4 more introduced. In the past year, labor councils, unions, workers' organizations, and even school boards from coast to coast have passed similar resolutions as well. And that's just in the past year. With 2021, we have reason for optimism as we make strides toward the defeat of the global pandemic. The new administration here in the United States gives us a glimmer of hope, but this is not the time to diminish our efforts, but to intensify them. We, the members of the NNOC, continue to stand by Cuba and to increase pressure on the U.S. government to change its aggressive policies, which have not let up under the current administration, and to counter malicious disinformation campaigns. We will continue to work to educate the U.S. people about the reality and the achievements of Cuba, particularly in these difficult times. We will fight for our right to travel to Cuba and see this beautiful island firsthand. And most of all, we join with our brothers and sisters across the country and around the globe to end the blockade of Cuba. Thank you.
En saludo al Día Internacional de los Trabajadores,
Encuentro Virtual Internacional de Solidaridad con Cuba.
En homenaje al comandante en jefe Fidel Castro Ruz, para continuar demandando el levantamiento del genocida, criminal e injusto bloqueo económico, comercial y financiero impuesto por el gobierno de los Estados Unidos contra Cuba.
Los días 30 de abril y 1 de mayo, foros regionales contra el bloqueo.
Sígalos desde las redes sociales de la Central de Trabajadores de Cuba y del Instituto Cubano de Amistad con los Pueblos.
Nos siguen llegando
We still are receiving important messages of solidarity from many parts of the world. From Igor Yurish, he sends from his country some greetings, saying greetings from my country. From Jamaica, Joseph Anker from the United States, he says, we greet our Cuban comrades. From Guinea-Bissau, they send messages. From Serbia, we are also greeted by the workers' organization from Panama, and we would like to thank this block of greetings, and we would like to invite representatives from Africa and the Americas for them to take the floor and convey their messages of solidarity. This time, we will be listening to Singisa Losi, President of the Congress of Trade Unions in South Africa, FOSATO, and by the American movements from FCM, Alberto Freire Casañas, the regional coordinator of the trade unions.
From the International Labour Movement, comrades and friends from the Workers' Central Union of Cuba, CTC, comrades from the Progressive Movement, and allies of Cuba. It is a great honor for me to be extending this message of support on behalf of the 1.5 million working people of South Africa, organized under the Congress of South African Trade Unions, COSATU, at this auspicious event as we mark the International Day of the Proletariat, or what has become more commonly recognized as May Day across the globe on the 1st of May. Once again, comrades, we mark this day amidst difficult circumstances. May Day is a day of celebration for all workers. This period has been hard for everyone. The restrictions have disrupted businesses and jobs and created considerable inconvenience. But as workers, we have been resilient and have taken this in our stride. Comrades, COVID-19 will be counted amongst one of the greatest challenges of our generation. The virus is a tough enemy, invisible but formidable. It is now our turn to prove that we are worthy of our forebearers and up to the challenge before us. I have every confidence that we will prove that we are equal to the task. We remain inspired and encouraged by the example of Cuba, that despite the unjustified strangulations of the country's economy by the US, Cuba continues to thrive. Its people continue to benefit from the socialist policies. Even though further challenged by the restrictions of the pandemic, Cuba has demonstrated the true essence of altruistic solidarity and dispatched its white coat army of doctors to fight coronavirus in nearly 40 countries across 5 continents. This is what international socialism means. On this year's May Day, comrades, it is more important than ever that we strengthen solidarity in the international labor movement, vigorously defend workers' rights, support workers' struggle across the globe, and make sure that workers' voices continue to be heard. We need to go back to the principles of proletariat internationalism or international socialism, where we all demonstrate an understanding that as communist revolutionists, our struggle is a global class struggle rather than a series of separate localized events. COSATU remains resolute in its effort to fight for justice for the people of Cuba, inspired and motivated by the teachings of His Excellency, Comrade Castro. He remains a global icon in his stern resolve on internationalism and solidarity. I wish you, all the workers of Cuba, a healthy and happy May Day. Thank you very much.
Desde la oficina regional.
From the regional office of World Trade Unions group in Latin America and the Caribbean, we would like to convey our proletarian greetings to the CTC, to social and mass organizations that participate in this international solidarity encounter under the slogan, United we shall overcome. Tomorrow, we shall be celebrating 30 years of specific solidarity, and Cuba, by that date, in the midst of a special period, was a venue of the office who still we today represent. Cuban solidarity, the one we are expressing today, have historical moment in our region. Recently, in fighting this pandemic situation, which was also preceded by neoliberalism, and we would like to congratulate those in the health sector, mainly the members of Henry Reeve Brigades. We have been working together with the CTC and the trade unions organizations in the region with the purpose to give political training to trade union leaders and workers. CTC is working today together with Nicolope High School for parties, as well as different schools, in solidarity with the participation of the training group of the World Trade Organization together with CTC. It's also important to say that for the World Trade Organization, its priority in Latin America to keep on raising our voices for the lifting of the blockade against Cuba and its workers. That's why today we send our proletarian greetings until victory forever. Thank you very much, and to Losi and to Freire for the committed words they have expressed here towards the people of Cuba with international solidarity. To put an end to this opening session of the International Encounter for Solidarity with Cuba, we would like to invite Fernando González, your president of the Cuban Institute of Friendship with the Peoples, and afterwards we shall enjoy the music named Echoes of Flags, which is the main song slogan in Cuba from the Cuban composer and trade unions leader Arnaldo Rodriguez and his band. Dear friends all, I would like to thank in advance the participation you shall be having in this virtual meeting and company of those who will be connected through Facebook and YouTube. This solidarity encounter, what we start today, substitute the one that usually we have in a presential manner and made the second in the convention center in Havana. We have not enabled COVID-19 pandemic to deprive us from the opportunity to be together, to embrace each other, even in a virtual manner. More than 1 year ago, this pandemic has been affecting humanity, and indeed humanity was under a crisis that was underlined by the inequities between the haves and haves not. The working class have been undoubtedly the one losing the most because of the capital. Tens of thousands of employment stopped existing, and liberal policies show, as never before, its inhumane nature. We can mention millions of persons who have died because of SARS-CoV-2, an important part having no access to medical care. Cuba, however, is living in a different situation. After 60 years of revolutionary status, a small country with no other resources than human ones, have been discouraged by this blockade, achieving results more important than the ones in other regions and in this specific area, not only in health and education, but also in protecting workers, women, vulnerable people, and it also means for us a huge effort. Only possible because of the political and popular willingness to achieve more fair and inclusive society. Today, we have, for instance, 4 vaccine candidates, 2 of them in the 3rd phase of a clinical trial. During these unfair times, Cuba have been giving the solidarity hand to those in need without considering ideological matters. More than 50 brigades of the specialized, the Henry contingent specialized in pandemics and natural disasters have been going to more than 40 countries in the world, giving services to humanity. We are led by Martís, Fidels, and humanitarian ideas that are still present in the Cuban society. These accomplishments are a result of the work of our academicians, scientists, health personnel, and the efforts of a whole people that have been resisting before an enemy that have been for more than 60 years applying measures in more sustained and violation of the human rights of this nation. The economic, commercial, and financial blockades the main obstacle for the development of our country and for the continuity in making progress in attaining material and spiritual welfare for Cubans. When Cuba faces all these adversities, imperialism, which is impotent, is strengthening its measures to surrender this island. Those are measures that are still in force, taken by the Trump administration to implement starvation in our country. It's not possible to consider that a country have no access to assisted breeding equipment in coming from different countries. It's not possible to understand that this country is in a list, spurious list, an unilateral list of the countries sponsoring, supporting terrorism as well as crime, finance, most of the time from the United States. It's not possible to see that we still have no responses about the shooting against our embassy in Washington, D.C. in April last year. But not only this economic and financial blockade is the one existing against Cuba, there is also a communication war which is waged with same ferocity from the great empires and in the digital networks. In this space, which is falsely democratic, which is called the internet. In this battle, there are lies and fake news that are trying to isolate our revolution from the international sphere and to take advantage of the limitations generated by the blockade to take away the people's support. Lying with all purposes is part of this game in which the peoples are the ones losing the most. Cuba counts on you, and with the international solidarity to defeat blockade and to take to the remotest areas in the world the truth of a country that have been fighting restless for the revolution with the leadership of Fidel Castro and Raúl Castro, a people with the dignified commitment of new generations to continue with the revolutionary and socialist projects. You have been with us in this historical and fair demand in which Cuban and people in the world have been united. The recent days of solidarity in the world with caravans have shown support to Cuba is a way to see this struggle. We invite you, please, to keep on fighting, to denounce the genocidal and extraterritorial policies of the United States. We hope this is a space for new initiatives that contribute to extend and make visible the impact of those actions. As the first Secretary of the Communist Party of Cuba and President of the Republic of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermúdez, said in the opening speech of the recently concluded or finished Congress of the Party, this is the Congress of Continuity. First, they should be tired of this useless crime. Our claim to the end of this blockade is our permanent claim. This genocidal policy must get to an end, and I unquote. So I should say as well that those accompanied in this meeting, united, we shall overcome.
La plaza amaneció con luz de sol en sus farolas y en la avenida un viento azul. Manos se juntaron en la calle y las aceras, la voz se hizo multitud.
Balcones y portales se hacen eco de banderas, un tiempo nuevo abraza el porvenir.
Multicolor la marcha de gigantes que se empeñan,
semilla imprescindible en su raíz.
Mambisa y soberana
Mambisa y soberana va.
La isla que precisa, erguida frente al temporal.
Airosa va retando al mar.
Mambisa y soberana va. La isla que precisa andar, erguida frente al temporal. Airosa va retando al mar. Mambisa y soberana va. La isla que precisa andar, erguida frente al temporal. Airosa va retando al mar. La marcha sujetando está, un canto que convida a amar. El verso espera libertad, razones para continuar.
Mano para arriba, mi gente bonita que
Trabaja duro y mira hacia adelante.
trabaja duro porque
Y aquí no hay marcha atrás.
vamos todos adelante, ni un pasito para atrás, que la mentira es mentira y la verdad siempre es verdad. Vamos para adelante, mi pueblo,
Y aquí no hay marcha atrás.
trabajando con mi gente, viviendo la realidad. Vamos a seguir cantando para el pueblo, para la prosperidad. Ay, ay.
A mí, please. Y aquí no hay marcha atrás. Cerra por capacidad, chicos. Y aquí no hay marcha atrás. Aquí la timba está cerrada. Y aquí no hay marcha atrás. Aquí la timba está cerrada.
¿Viste lo que te dije?
Y aquí no hay marcha atrás. Patrón y jugando. Aquí la timba está cerrada. Y aquí no hay marcha atrás. Aquí la timba está cerrada.
Bueno, queridos amigos,
Well, dear friends, comrades, now we shall take a break and we will resume at 1 p.m. With the European Forum. So we request you to join us again in the afternoon to continue this event. Thank you very much. United, we shall overcome.